What's up, y'all? It is Coach K in the building. Hopefully, y'all can hear me loud and clear coming to you through Instagram today. Freaking YouTube. We got Facebook in the house as well. So put down in the comment box where you're tuning in from. If you're on live, what's up, baby? If you're on replay, I got you. Put team or hashtag team replay. How about it? All right. So we know where you're at. Listen, if you are tuning in right now, tonight is going to be an incredible live. Why? We're going over test performance anxiety, and that's because test performance anxiety is the theme of this week here at the PT Hustle. All right. And for those of you who are not familiar with me, my name is Dr. Kyle Rice. My students call me Coach K, and I help physical therapy students who struggle with standardized tests to absolutely crush the Npte. And like I said, tonight, we're going to be going over test performance anxiety. Anybody got a little bit of test performance anxiety going on? I mean, just to lay into it a little bit, those little feelings that I shouldn't even say little feelings or big feelings for a lot of us, where heart rate starts to go crazy, sweaty palms, gut starts to give you problems. Right? You start freaking out, start panicking going into the exam, can't focus. Well, we're going to be going into all of that tonight. So if it sounds like you, I want you to tune in for the story I'm about to tell you. Because I'm about to tell you how I literally passed out in PT school. Passed out from fear, from anxiety of test taking. I'm going to talk to you about all that story. And then I'm going to tell you about how I overcame it. Ended up dominating PT school and then went on to dominate the Npte. Are y'all ready to hear how that happened and what you can do to make sure you crush the Npte? I'm not talking about just step in there and maybe get a passing score. I'm talking about dominate it with confidence. If that's what you're looking for, you're in the right place at the right time. Thank y'all. Thank y'all for being here. Anybody ready to go? What's up, my people on IG? I got some YouTube out here. Absolutely love it. Listen. If you are a student right now who is preparing to take your Npte in October or November of 2021, or maybe early 2022, tonight is really going to be for you, especially if you struggle with anxiety. Now, I know anxiety is one of those kind of touchy subjects where, you know, if people are kind of hearing you have anxiety, they're kind of like, ooh, well, just be positive. It'll work out. You're smart. Anybody have those types of experiences where people have said that to you? Like, just be positive. You got it. Like, that's going to help solve your anxiety problems. Yeah, well, I was in that same situation. So tonight, what we're going to do is we're going to break tonight down into 3 phases. First, I'm going to talk about my story and how I literally passed out in PT school, blacked out on the desk. I'm going to talk to you about that entire thing. And then we're going to go into identification in phase 2 tonight. We're going to help identify whether you're struggling with test performance anxiety, if it's really impacting your score. We're going to talk all about that. And then I'm going to give you the steps on what you need to do to fix it before your Npte. Does that sound good? So for those of y'all tuning in, IG, YouTube, Facebook, go down in the comment box and put go, and let's get started with tonight. Yeah, phase 3. Yeah, we're going to have phase 3 too, and we're going to talk to those of you who feel like you need help, all right? So phase 3 is going to be all about that. Cool? All right, so a lot of people saying go, go, go. All right, so let me tell you a story real quick about how I passed out during a major exam at PT school, but then I was able to turn all of it around, graduate PT school, crush it, and then crush the Npte. So here's a little bit of background. You know, I got into PT school, right? And in PT school, for me, I don't know what your experience was, but my experience was that PT school, there was a lot of cliques, put it that way. There was 50 students in this class, right? So we had a pretty nice sized class, and it was pretty cliquey, all right? And so one of the things was that I dealt with a lot was judgment. You felt like if you weren't able to keep up with everyone else, like grades or the speed of how everybody was absorbing information, you felt like you were being judged. Anybody kind of have that experience? Like you're feeling like you're on the brink of being judged by everybody, or if you fail, you're getting judged. Well, listen, that was like the theme of PT school, very cutthroat. And actually our program was set up to where if you got like a C on a test, because a lot of times we have midterms and finals. If you got a C on a test and you got a C in the class, like you were like put on academic probation to where you were at risk for failing out of the school. Anybody have that type of experience? That's what it was. Very cutthroat, very like, okay, you had to perform, otherwise you were getting kicked out type of thing, right? So not only did I have that stress on me, but I had already failed pretty much every major exam I've ever taken getting into PT school. So I was super stressed out about taking any written exams. Now, put me in a situation where I'm taking a practical, I can handle it. It's a little nerve-wracking, but I can handle that. But when it came down to freaking written exams, I would freak out. So I'm in kinesiology class, and we got this super brilliant, oh my gosh, freaking brilliant professor. He knows the information at a freaking level that is just way above all of us, right? And so although the dude is a genius, it's very hard to like really understand and grasp the concepts. And you know how kinesiology is tough. It's like concave, convex, like all of this crap, right? Levers. Am I bringing you back? Yeah. So here's the thing. We had 2 major exams in that class, pretty much a midterm and a final. You had to perform on these. Otherwise, you were and this was one of the tougher classes. So you were at risk of failing out of the program and having to start back with the class underneath you. And so here's the thing. We're getting ready for this big midterm, y'all. And I'm freaking out a little bit because I know that there's only 2 major exams. There's a lot of hard content on this one. It's levers. It's active and passive insufficiency. It's concave, convex for all the major joints. It's chapter 2, 3, 4, 7, 9, 10, and 11. It's like all the PowerPoint slides, right? So I'm freaking out. I'm studying day in, day out. This is the class that I'm putting all my time into because I know if I don't do well on this one, it's pretty much over, right? So we're getting ready for the midterm. All my friends around me seem like they're doing just fine. They're absorbing the information. They're still going out and partying. A lot of them went to PF. I remember they went out to PF Chang's like the night before the test. Like everybody seemed like they were chilling. But me, I was like freaking out about this exam, right? And so, anywho, the day of the exam comes. I remember sitting down in the chair and, it's a pretty high intense, at least for me, it was a high intense environment, right? We get ready for this first big test. I remember he going down to each of the rows. We're all sitting in these rows back in class. Yeah. And we're in these rows and he starts handing out all the packets and saying, pass them down, pass them down. Comes to my row, pass them down. I get mine. And so here's where it starts. I start to feel like this overwhelming sense of just like dread, like doom, like I'm not going to do well, like fear. So then I start to get hot, and I'm used to these kind of feelings, like the sweaty palms, getting hot, heart palpitations. I'm very used to that. So that's what starts to come over me, right? So here's the thing. He says that we can begin, all right? So I look down at the page, and I'm going through the first few questions, and immediately, like as soon as I start reading it, I read it, and I'm like, what? So I go back, and I look at that question again. Same one, question 1. I start reading it through, and I still don't understand. What the heck is this question asking? So I go back and read it a third time, and I completely blank on this information. Like, I cannot remember anything related to active and passive insufficiency. Like, I can't remember any of it. Like, I can't recall the information. I can't recall the definitions, none of it. So I'm like, oh, it's okay. Let me look at question 2. Read question 2, same thing happens there. We question 3, still, it's not going well. Like I can't recall the information. At this point, it starts to feel like I'm dreaming in the moment, right? So then I'm like, okay, sorry. Deep breathing. They tell me to be positive, deep breathing. That's what they tell me to do, right? So I started doing that, and I'm like, okay, let's go to another page, and let me try to start at the end of the exam. So I start reading the questions at the end. So I started on question, I think I was like 45 or something like that. I'm going through that. I still cannot freaking remember or recall this information. I can't. So I'm stuck in this moment, right? That like dream type of feeling starts to get worse to where it feels like I'm literally like flipping in the air, like levitating out of the chair. And I guess you would call that lightheadedness, right? So before I know it, I'm literally out, blacked out, gone. I don't even remember anything else. All I remember is now like my head is down, is down on top of my arms or whatnot, and I'm out. So how did I wake up? Here's how I woke up. Two of my classmates. One of them was Javi. He slides back his chair. He was pretty close to me. He was one of those students that gets done with the test like really quick, right? Just gets up early. Okay, so he finishes the test super fast, slides back his chair, and that is what woke me up in that moment. Like I came to, and I'm like, oh my gosh, he's already done. I hadn't even started. Then the next person gets up. The next person gets up. Next, you know, 5, 6, 10, 12 people are getting up, and I still cannot concentrate because it seems like every time I try to like lock in on a question, another person gets up out of the chair. I'm freaking out at this moment. So pretty much everybody leaves the classroom at that point. And, you know, they finish their exam. I'm still there. I'm the last one, of course. Everybody's out in the hallway waiting, you know, when are we going to finish, you know? Let's hear how everybody did. So I'm the last one finishing up, as always. And I wound up finishing the exam, doing a lot of Christmas tree. How many of y'all have seen that TikTok, that TikTok that's like, wee, 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 wee? Yeah, that's kind of how it was. Like, I was freaking just Christmas treeing the test, in all seriousness. Like pretty much crying in that moment because I knew that I was going to fail this thing. I just could not recall the information. Y'all, that was one of the most devastating times in PT school right there. The moment I realized that I had some type of crippling test performance anxiety. Crippling. And I didn't know what to do about it. And in my family, you know, not to say that my family is not for mental health or anything, but that's just not something that was like we grew up with as kids, like mental health and going to see a therapist. Like that was never a big thing. So it was like you just did it. You know, you just handled your business. There was no like going to therapy and all that stuff. So what happened? After that test was done, and I wound up not doing well on it. I believe I got a D plus or C minus or something along the lines of that. But after that, I went to the doctor's office, right? I went to the doctor's office at the campus. And I told the person exactly what I was dealing with, the test performance anxiety or these feelings, whatever. And actually, it was the physician or whoever, the nurse practitioner, that was like, okay, this is anxiety. This is what I want you to do. So guess what they provided to me? A prescription for beta blockers. And at the time, I was like, heck no, I'm not doing no freaking beta blockers. Are you kidding? Are you kidding me? I'm a PT student. I'm healthy. I'm not getting on no beta blockers. I don't need no medication. So that was my mentality at the time. Like, no, you can keep your medication, deuces. Right? So I went off and I was like, okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to figure this stuff out for myself. So that's when I started to put in time, like trying to figure out like what was causing this problem? What was causing the anxiety? Why was it showing up? And so I went after it by myself. No therapy, no medication, nothing like that. Now, there are some things that I did do because was I able to pass that class? I actually ended up passing that class. I actually ended up getting through PT school and graduating with a really good GPA. Went on to take the Npte and crush the Npte. But that wasn't without all of the test performance anxiety throughout the time that I had to like really work through and figure out what works. And so now, thank God, I was able to go through all of that pain and struggle through PT school because now it's allowed me to have that opportunity to guide other people who are also going through test performance anxiety. And so I wanted you to know from my side of it, like what was my story? Like how did that whole process go for me? Because I want to see like, are you also struggling with test performance anxiety? You want to know why I make this into a big thing? Why this week is known as Test Performance Anxiety Week at the PT Hustle? It's because, like, over the past 7 years, I've been coaching students, helping students who FSBPT said would not pass the exam, super low score, right? On the PETS or their Npte, they're saying they'll never pass. Well, here's what I found. That a lot of students who struggle with test performance anxiety, their score tends to be 100 to 150 points lower. Did you hear that? 100 to 150 points lower than what it should be. And after the student's able to learn how to manage the anxiety, how to I wouldn't say overcome it. It's more of like a manage. Then they're able to raise your score dramatically. And that's the reason why I wanted to make this video tonight. So how many of y'all right now, go into the comment box, whether you're on IG, YouTube, Instagram, wherever you're at, tell me right now, do you feel like you have test performance anxiety? Do you feel like that is impacting your score is really the question tonight? Because all of us have a little bit of anxiety. I get that. But there's certain people that have severe anxiety, crippling anxiety that actually is lowering your score significantly. And for those people, I want to talk to those people tonight because I believe that we can not just get you to pass the Npte, we can get you to crush it and move on with the rest of your life. This is all I freaking wanted when I was in PT school. I just wanted to be done. I just wanted to graduate, be done with the Npte, and never have to worry about PT school again. Just move on with my life. That's all I wanted. And I'm telling you all right now, if you feel like you're struggling with test performance anxiety, we have an opportunity to raise your freaking score, get you to the point where you pass this Npte, and move on with the rest of your life. How many of y'all would like that? Go down in the comment box and let me know if you feel that potentially you're dealing with some anxiety that's causing you to get a lower score. And let's continue forward because I got something I want to teach you. All right, so we just finished phase 1. Phase 2 of tonight, let's start looking at identifying, whether you have test performance anxiety that is lowering your score. Is that cool with you? All right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pop over. Let's see if we can get it to work here. I'm going to pop over to my screen. All right, and I want to see, can y'all see my screen? Because I'm going to have us draw some stuff out so we can learn something tonight. This is going to be super huge. We're going to be talking about what is known as the pass pocket. Pass pocket. It's going to help us to identify whether you are having a decrease in your score because of anxiety. Cool? All right, so if you got a piece of paper and a pen, pull it out, okay? What I want you to do, I know you've seen this before, right? We've drawn this out many a times when we were in school. What do they call this, a Venn diagram or something like that? All right, hold on. For those of you on Instagram, hold on. Let me make my circles a little bit smaller there. A little smaller. See if we can get it in the screen. All right. I need you to draw something like that. All right? Cool? And I'll slide it over there for you all who are on Instagram. There it goes. You should see it. Now, here's the thing. This is going to be called the pass pocket. What do I really mean by pass pocket? Well, this part of the diagram right here that I'm going to shade in green is where a student will get the optimal score on the Npte. Optimal score. How many of you all want to get the optimal score? You've put all this time into studying. You want to make sure that you get the optimal return on your investment. All the time, finances, energy. You want to get the optimal return on that, right? Okay. Well, in order to do that, you need to be in what is called the pass pocket. When you are on either side of the pass pocket, your score is significantly reduced. I mean, significantly. For a lot of students, you're already down at least 50 scaled points, if not more than that. For a lot of students I've seen over the past 7 years, 100 to 150. Are y'all ready for me to show you these two sides? Let's start off on the left side of this pass pocket, okay? I'm going to do this one in red. So this side of the pass pocket is a specific type of student who tends to be apathetic, meaning that they don't really care what the results of this NPTE is going to be. I see that a lot with students who they were forced into physical therapy by maybe their parents or friends or whatever it is, and they really don't even want to do this. All right? Or they're so freaking burnt out at this point that they don't care about these results on this NPTE, whatever. They're just like, let me get this thing done. I'm over it. Let me put that down here. I'm over it. They say things like that. I'm over it. I'm done. Some of you have noticed that you've taken the NPTE before and you said this during the test. I'm done. I just want to be finished. Can I put that down too? I just want to be finished. These are some of the things that they say. Go down in the comment box right now, wherever you're at right now, and let me know if you have ever said this during the exam. Maybe it's the Npte, Pete, or maybe you're saying this stuff to yourself now. Go down in the comment box, because what we're going to do right now is we're going to identify if test performance anxiety is actually causing you to struggle with your Npte. I mean, lose 50, 100, 150 scale points. Don't worry, I'm going to tell you how to fix it. All right, what we need to do. Okay, let's identify this side even more. So they're apathetic. They tend to be feeling burnt out. They say that they're over it. They say things like, I just want to be finished with this. I just want to be done. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't care. There's something else that they'll say. What else may they say? They may even say things like, you know what? Let me just give this a shot. I'm going to give this Npte a shot. Whatever happens, happens. Can I put that down there? Whatever happens, happens. Go down in the comment box and let me know if that sounds like you. If that does not sound like you, good in the hood. All right. But I'm telling you right now, if you are having those types of thoughts going through your mind, or if you feel those things, I'm telling you that your score is going to be significantly worse. How do I know? Think about it for a moment. How many of y'all have ever taken a practice exam, Npte, test in PT school, and you just felt burnt out? You were over it. You just wanted the test to be done. You didn't care. What was your score like? Was your score optimal? Absolutely not. Did you start making a lot of careless mistakes, misreading things, skipping over stuff that you should have known, changing answers, not even caring, whatever? Were you making simple errors? Absolutely. And that's the reason why being on this side of the pass pocket is going to significantly lower your score. All right, cool. And for those on IG, let me slide that over. Let me see if you can see it a little bit better. There we go. All right. So now what I want to do is I want to talk to you about the other side of the pass pocket. Okay. Other side of the pass pocket is where I was at a lot in PT school. This is the reason why I passed out on my desk, y'all. Let me tell you what this is like. I'm going to do this one in blue, okay? So I'll put this one up here real quick. You find yourself reading the questions 2 and 3 freaking times. Maybe even more than that. 3, 4 times. It's like you can't understand what is going on. It's like you can't focus. How many of y'all have had something like that? Feeling like you can't focus. I know I'm talking to quite a few of you tonight. All right. How many of y'all have ever started to feel like, you know, your heart's starting to race, maybe a lot of pressure, or just blood is rushing to your head, lightheadedness, you know, those sympathetic nervous response type of things like the fight or flight? How many of y'all have ever had that during the exam or even leading up to it? You know what I'm talking about. These are very, very common on this side of the pass pocket. What else? Nausea. Yep, that's one. Come on, y'all. Go down in the comment box. If you've had any of these or even your own type of signs and symptoms and all that, put it down in the comment box. Let's go through it real quick. All right. A lot of y'all saying me. I see it. Okay. So here's the thing. One type of problem I was dealing with was mental fog. Mental fog, it's like a lack of clarity for some reason. It's like, yeah, sometimes it feels like a dream, but it's just like fogginess. That's the best way I can kind of say that, fogginess. All right, let's talk about some of the mindset things that this person has on this side of the pass pocket. They feel like every single question may be the one that causes them to fail. Let me say it again. They feel like every single question, it might be this one that causes me to fail. They start freaking out about that type of stuff. It's like, I don't know. It might be this one. It could be this one. And they start dragging that from question to question, that kind of mindset. You can definitely tell that the entire exam is just rooted in fear. If this is summing you up right now, like you're like, yes, this is what I've had to deal with in the past. This is what has been going on with me. I've had to read questions multiple times where it feels like I can't focus. I can't lock in. You know, I have a lot of sympathetic response type of things, sweaty palms, heart rates going crazy. And yes, all of us have a certain degree of nervousness and anxiety. I get that. But there's a lot of us that have extreme or significant anxiety that impairs our ability to answer the questions, and that's when it becomes a problem. There's a difference. So, what am I telling you right now as we sum this up? That I've lived on both sides of this pass pocket, but I will tell you right now that I've spent majority of the time on the side of fear. Sympathetic response. Go down in the comment box and let me know what side you've been on mostly. Have you been on that sympathetic side? Have you been on that more apathetic side? Go down in the comment box. Let's figure out where you're at. Because both of these sides, the further you are to one direction or the other, really the lower your score is going to be. And this is what I found over the past 7 years. But can't you also say that that's true? Those of you who have like really been in panic mode, you're panicked during the exam. The more that you panic, the more that you freak out, like what happens to your score? The lower it goes, right? The more you panic, the lower your score is. All right? Now, the more you don't care, all right, if you're like, hey, I don't really care about this, yeah, the lower your score is going to be. So the further you are to one of these directions, the lower your score is going to be. Does that make sense? Can you go down in the comment box and put makes sense? This is huge. Now, there's a key that I need you to understand. I had already told you before that when I was going through PT school, I actually would shift. I would go this direction sometimes. I would go that direction. I wasn't necessarily always on one side. All right? But here's the thing. What it comes down to is how often you stay in this center pass pocket. Can you keep yourself centralized in that pass pocket? Okay, so you may be saying, okay, what is a pass pocket? Well, a pass pocket is someone who understands that the Npte or the Pete exam or whatever is valuable. Yes, there is some weight to this situation. The pass pocket understands that. Yeah, this is important. This isn't life ending. This isn't the end of the world, but this is an important exam. People in the pass pocket understand that. All right. People in the pass pocket understand the feelings that they have are anticipation. Like, you know, those feelings that you get the heart rate and all of that stuff. It doesn't have to be fear. A lot of us are anticipating the Npte. We're anticipating being successful, and we misread that as fear of failure. Someone who lives in the pass pocket understands that what they feel is an anticipation. And they change that kind of mindset. Okay, I'm anticipating. This isn't fear. This isn't the end of the world. This isn't me feeling like I'm going to fail. No, no, no. This is anticipating the success. That's number two. All right. Ready to go with number three? Here's the major one. People who live in the past pocket, they have methods that they can do in order to make sure that they stay in the center. So if they start to become more apathetic, like, oh, I'm over it, I just want to be done, they have something in place to make sure that they move themselves back into the past pocket. That they're like, no, I'm going to continue to push. I'm going to get this job done. I know I can do this. They have something in place to move them back into the past pocket. If they start freaking out, having mental fog, all these things, they have strategies in place to pull themselves back to the past pocket. All right. So what I want you all to know is that I personally have lived on both sides of the past pocket. Rarely have I ever been in the center. It wasn't until PT school. It wasn't until I blacked out. It wasn't until I put in the time that I figured out one thing that I was missing the whole time. You want to know the one thing that is going to help you dominate the Npte? To get all of the return on investment, all the time that you spent to get over this hump, to move on with the rest of your life and not ever have to worry about this issue again. You know what that one thing is? It's control. Control. All right. So I want to talk to you about, okay, what can you do? Because right now, what we've done is we've taken a look at what is known as the past pocket. You should have already kind of looked at where we were at. You know, are we more on the left side? Are we more on the right side? Are we more panicked and freaking out, mental fog, more sympathetic response? Do you live more on that side, or do you live more on the side of being apathetic? I'm over it. I'm done. I don't want to do this. I don't care what the results are. Just leave me alone. Which side do you gravitate more to? Because if you feel like, yes, I'm more towards this side or I'm more to that side, I know that we can raise your score. But, of course, it comes down to, okay, what do we do? So let me talk to y'all really quick, and I want to get a little bit, before we move into what to do, and this last part of tonight, I want to ask you right now, for those of you who have struggled with anxiety before, what have people said to you to try to help your anxiety, to try to help, to help you to minimize your experience, to downplay it a little bit? Like, what have people said to you? I asked this question on IG the other day. What have people said to you? I mean, to me, people were saying, be positive. Oh, it's all going to work out. You're a smart guy. You didn't come this far to come this far. You know, just keep working hard. Keep your head down. You got this, right? I've known you for so long. You're definitely going to pass this exam. A lot of people who have no idea. They're not with you. They don't study with you, but they're quickly to say, oh, just be positive. It'll work out for you. Dana says, it'll be okay. You always do great on exams. What have people said to you? Because for the most part, if people are saying, oh, just be positive. Oh, look at the bright side. Oh, you've always done well. Then, you know, those things are obviously not helpful. You know that. But you try to do them still. It's like, okay, yeah, I got to be positive. That's exactly what I used to do. People say, oh, just be positive. Like I'm someone who needs to be guilty because I'm not being positive. So I would like shame myself because it's like, oh, I'm not being positive. People saying I should be and I'm not. So it makes me feel even worse. Like, how many of y'all have gone through something like that? All right. So what we want to do is we want to have effective, efficient coping strategies to keep you in the past pocket. And what's going to help us to do that is this number one thing. And this is what I want you putting on your paper is the word control. If we're able to take control of the situation, we can cope and get ourselves into that past pocket. It's when we're out of control that we live on either side of that past pocket. Is this making sense? When we don't have control is when we stay on either side. key thing for you to understand. And let me kind of pull this back just to make this stick a bit better. When you're thinking about this past pocket, it's not about you going towards one side or the other. Some of you all freak out and you're like, oh my God, I'm freaking out. I'm nauseous, or I have mental fog, or whatever. I shouldn't feel like this. I shouldn't be thinking like this. I want you to understand that it's okay. It's not about you entering and thinking about these things. It's okay if your heart rate goes up, if you feel nauseous. It's okay. These things happen. It's how long we stay here on the Npte is really what's important. So for some of you right now, you've taken the Npte in the past, and I'm telling you, the one thing that you struggled with was the fact that you were shaming yourself in the moment about how you weren't thinking positive, how you were feeling this way, and you should not be feeling this way, and you should be continuing to push. And you're beating yourself down instead of giving yourself some grace. Remember, it's not about being on the right or the left. All of us go from one side to the next throughout an exam. It just happens. All right, but the goal is to not stay on one side. We get ourselves back to that pass pocket as quickly as possible. What's the primary way we do it, y'all? What have we learned tonight? The primary way to stay in the pass pocket is control. So how the heck we're going to get that? Cool? All right. So, again, if you haven't pulled out a pen and paper, let's do that right now because I'm going to give you some strategies on how to do it. Again, if people have told you to be positive, we know that that's not helpful. But there's two major ways I'm going to give you tonight on what we can do. Ready? Number one is to identify, here it is, identify the trigger. Identify the experience that causes the anxiety episode. This is one of the mind blowers that I had back in PT school, something I never really thought about. I would just, I would feel anxious. I would go through these episodes. And the one thing I would never do is I would never do anything different. I just kind of fell into this idea that, oh, this is just how it is. I'm just an anxious person. I just have to deal with it. Right? And I was not necessarily seeking effective ways to cope with it. And it doesn't have to be medication. Medication is good. Medication can help. All right? But it doesn't have to be that. So what can we do? What's our number one strategy? Is to identify what is causing the problem first. You may or may not know that now. Maybe we've got to trial it out a little bit. But thinking back, can you go down in the comment box right now and tell me something that just triggers you, that causes that heart rate to go up, blood pressure to go up, you start freaking out, all that stuff? Go down in the comment box right now and let me know, what is that thing that happens typically that causes you to kind of go into that sympathetic response when it comes down to an exam? I'll give you one of my examples. One of my big ones is being like really walking into where we're going to take the test, sitting down with everyone. Everybody's kind of like waiting, twiddling their thumbs, and here comes the test. That is one thing that like really gets me. Really gets me. All right, it just turns that anxiety on, and I automatically start feeling the lightheadedness, the dreaming feeling. Go down in the comment box and let me know, what are one of your major triggers. We don't need to know all of them. One of the major ones. Dana says, when I can't answer the first question. Pat says, when I read a question about something I've studied before that I should know, but I don't know the answer. Anybody? Oh my gosh, that's a good one. Pat, appreciate you. Dana, appreciate you. All right, so let's take one of these, for instance. Right? Dana says, when I can't answer the first question. Dana, this was one of my major freaking triggers. I kid you not, for the Npte. I knew that this was likely to happen. I was going to get that first question on the Npte, and it was going to like ruin the rest of the test. I kid you not, Dana. You and me are linked because this was one of my major ones. So this is what I did. I identified my top 3 triggers that really just brought on the feelings. I was able to do that. One of my major ones is exactly what you just said, Dana, is when I couldn't, that first question, you just don't know what the heck it is. All right. So you know what I did, Dana? what I did for that was I did mental imagery. And I envisioned repeatedly that first question, what it was going to be, the toughness of it. I envisioned that. All right. But here's the other thing I did. I actually set myself up for success by thinking about, okay, if that question is something I just have never seen before, didn't understand, whatever it is, what I was going to do was blank, blank, and blank. So if that first question was something that I had never seen before and it was a really tough question, this was going to be my strategy system for how I was going to address that situation. So I was prepared for that to happen. And I'll tell you right now, the first question on my Npte, I won't tell you what it was, but it was something I knew. See, I was over prepared for the situation there, Dana. I over prepared myself for it. And guess what happened? It was something I knew. Ain't that something, right? Over prepare for the situation and it reduces anxiety. That's one of the major strategies that's out there for people who struggle with test performance anxiety, over preparing. Now, you may read that online and it sounds cool. It's like, over prepare. Yeah. Listen, we're all over prepared. We all studied a hell of a lot. What else we gonna study, man? We already put in the time. No. That's not what they mean by over prepare. At least that's not what I mean. I mean, we have to identify the trigger first. What is the problem? What's causing it? And build a strategy to address the trigger. Don't just take some willy-nilly off Google like, oh, over prepare, and that means I need to study more. Nope. You didn't identify the problem first. All right? So, Dana, I wanted to take that as a live example. That is one of them that I dealt with. So how can you start to improve your Npte score, get yourself into that pass pocket, and most of all, take control of your anxiety? You want to know how to do it? Here's one of the major ways, is to first identify three. This is my assignment to you. Before you take this Npte, identify three of your primary triggers, the ones that really just like bring on those feelings for you, that sympathetic response. Is that cool? Is that a good assignment for you? All right, do that, and I'm telling you, we can start to see some major results. Cool? So what is one way that we can start to get control over test performance anxiety and raise your score tonight? All right, there we go. Is to identify the triggers. Okay? Now, what's the second one? I want to give you another one tonight. I want to over deliver for you. Second one is boundaries. Boundaries. All right, and I'm going to talk to you about what that means. You may have heard it before, like, oh, setting boundaries and all of that. This is so important because one of our major triggers, at least for me, coming up was somebody asking, hey, so how's studying for the Npte going? How you doing with that? Is that going well? You know, are you doing good there? It could be a family member. It would tend to be like a relative that would call, be like, hey, how's it going? Your mom told me such and such and that. All right. And that would trigger me automatically. Or if I would go out to a party or something and say, somebody asked me, hey, so are you ready for the exam? And immediately I would start to think, am I ready? Maybe I'm not ready. Maybe I should be studying right now. Oh my gosh, I'm out at this party and I should be freaking studying right now. How many of y'all have gone through something like that? Come on, baby. I am not freaking alone here. All of those increase your level of anxiety and then cause you to not only start struggling with your studying, but then you go into the Npte feeling less than, not worthy, not enough. And of course, you're going to have anxiety after that. So what is the strategy? What do we need to do to help raise your freaking score, take control over this anxiety thing? Boundaries. We got to set boundaries. Self-boundaries and boundaries for the people that you interact with. That's where I'd start. Very simple. Self-boundaries and boundaries for the people that you interact with. So what does that really look like? Well, you may have some things that cause your own anxiety. right? Maybe it's you doing some type of self-sabotaging behavior, right? Asking a friend how they did on a practice exam. And you know that when they tell you the results of their practice exam, that's automatically going to make you feel bad. But you're curious, right? That's where we need to set a self-boundary, because you're going to sabotage yourself. You're going to increase your own anxiety by asking questions like that of other people. What are some self-boundaries that you need to put in place to make sure that you don't increase your own anxiety? A lot of us do it to ourselves, man. Isn't that crazy? I do it all the time, man. I'm not preaching, man. I'm really not preaching. I do this all the time. Self-sabotage. All right? So setting boundaries for yourself in ways that don't allow you to increase your own anxiety. Not asking other people how they're doing in their studying, or not asking them how their tests went. Not searching for that information, not trying to compare yourself to others. You may need to set your own boundaries like, nope, I will not do this. From now into the Npte, I will not ask others how they have done on exams, because I know that that'll increase my anxiety. Boom. Example of a self-boundary. All right. Can I give you another one? So the wall says, worst question ever is always, how's the studying going? Oh, this is good. So can I hit this real quick before y'all roll out? We almost done tonight, baby. I'm so freaking hyped. Here's the thing. How many times have you been asked, how's the studying going? Mom, dad, brother, sister, best friend, peer, whatever, relative. Hey, so how's the study going? How does that make you feel on the inside? I know for me, when I would get asked that, immediately I'd be like, it's almost like I turned on this sympathetic response and I got irritated. Like, why are you asking me that? It's either I got irritated, or the other one is I started to get defeated. It's one or the other. Do y'all see how that whole past pocket comes into play? On one side, you get sympathetic, more irritated, difficulty focusing, whatever it is. And on the other side, you get defeated or just apathetic, like, I'm over it. I don't even want to do this anymore. You see how you live on either side sometimes? Setting boundaries for other people is a key way to stay in the pass pocket. How do you do it? Well, it's finding, okay, what is a major trigger for you? Is it people asking, how's it going? Who asked that? Is it your peers? Is it your mom, dad? Having that conversation with them and letting them know, like, hey, I'm preparing for this exam. This is what's happening. This is the importance to me. This is what happens when people ask me, how's it going? Right? Letting them understand why you feel the way that you do. Now, do you have to tell them all that? No, you don't. You don't have to necessarily explain yourself to them, right? But here's the thing. It's really important for you to set boundaries that people will stick to by you being firm and being like, listen, I can't have you asking how's studying going because of this. Set the boundary. And then if they ask again, you firmly set the boundary again, and firmly set until they don't test that boundary anymore. So whether that's mom, dad, brother, sister, relative, whatever, it's setting up that boundary so that they don't cross it. But for a lot of you taking the Npte in October or November, we still got some time left. So this is an opportunity for you to set the boundary this week so that you can have less anxiety leading up to the exam. But one mistake that I made was not setting the boundary. And then days before the Npte, they start asking, hey, how's everything going? You're ready for it? And it was because I didn't set the boundary early enough. I didn't take control of the situation. So tonight, we talked about quite a bit. We talked about test performance anxiety for those of you who struggle with standardized tests. You go into tests feeling like it's pretty much the end of the world. It's do or die. All right, it's fail or succeed type thing. And if I fail, I'm going to be judged. If I fail, I'm not going to make it. Tonight is for those students who have that significant anxiety that is impacting their Npte score. What did we learn tonight? I talked to you about the pass pocket. That you can be on either side of this thing called the pass pocket. You can have the sympathetic response, or you can have on the other side where you're very apathetic. Either one of those sides, though, is definitely going to lower your score. Now, here's the good news. There's something called a pass pocket where you can stay in the middle. You can understand the weight of the test. You can understand how valuable this is, that this is a very important situation, but at the same time, knowing that you do have enough to pass. Knowing that the feelings that you have on the inside are more anticipation of the success, not the fear of failure. You can live in there. All right, so we talked about that pass pocket, but a lot of you all were asking, well, how do I control my anxiety? How do I stay in the pass pocket? How do I do that? It's one word, control. Well, what do I have to do to get control, Kyle? It comes down to making sure you set your boundaries for yourself and for the others around you. But one major thing that you need to do is identify what are the things that are triggering my anxiety first. That's the game changer. If you can do that for your top 3 triggers, you can figure out what is doing it and develop the strategies to address each of them. I'm telling you, this is how you stay in the pass pocket and dramatically raise your score without even having to study anything more. I'm a born testament of doing it this way, along with the students that I've coached over the past 7.5 years. All right. So I want to thank you all for being here tonight. You know, tonight was absolutely phenomenal. It really was for those of you who struggle with anxiety. I know quite a few of you are still on that kind of edge of, I need more. I'm having really bad anxiety. I need strategies in place. I need to know exactly what and how I need to address this. If you're in that type of situation, that's what the PT Hustle is here for. We have an opportunity for you to speak to our PT Hustle team to see how we can help you, how we can help you set up something, how we can help you solve a lot of your anxiety issues so that going into the exam is a much better experience, but you're able to crush it and move on with the rest of your life. So for those of you who are looking for help addressing your anxiety, you don't want to take any freaking risks. You want to make sure that you pass here in October or November. I want you to go down in the comment box and put October down there, and one of the team members will reach out to you tonight or tomorrow. All right, I want to thank you all for being here tonight. All my Instagrammers, we got Facebook in the house, YouTube. It's been an absolute pleasure. Every single Monday night, 6 p.m. Eastern, we're here locking it in live. So join us. We'll continue to help you and work with you so that we dominate this Npte in 2021. All right? I want y'all to have an amazing rest of your night. We'll talk soon. Have a good one.